Welcome, folks, to another edition of City Hall Live. I am Joe Abeta, and today our guests are Melissa McDonald, the Acting Parks Division Director, and Victor Lucero, the IPM Management Manager. And IPM means, right, Victor? Integrated Pest Management.
That's correct, Joe.
Yeah, I got it right. There you go. Thank you guys for joining us today. I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. The reason why we had you on today is because spring is coming, which means we have more weeds, we have more critters, and also there's more outdoor activity, especially now with the pandemic, you know, on a downswing, hopefully. There's going to be a lot more activity going on in our parks and our baseball fields and stuff. So I appreciate you guys coming on to be able to give the community of Santa Fe a little bit of information. So let's start out with the elephant in the room, if you will, and that would be weeds. What is talk about that a little bit. What's our plan to get rid of weeds in our community, to maintain them out? How does that all work?
Well, that's a great question. And as you said, the elephant in the room that we're going to get asked a lot about this, Joe. And, you know, I've been in this position as acting about 6 months, but I'm kind of building on work that's already been done. And I actually, dare I say, I think we're a little ahead of things this year, knock on wood. But we're really hoping that we're going to be able to manage a lot of the weeds, especially in the medians. This is where we get the most complaints, the medians and the right of way. So our crews have been out working all winter, and they're working as we speak now to really get a handle on this. So when a little weed starts coming up, we're ready to pull it out by the root if possible. And we're really getting some good momentum. So that's our big news. And we've started on the south side. And then we where it's warmer, because the weeds start coming out, it's a little warmer there temperature wise. And then we move to the north and east side, and then back to the south and west side. So we have a plan, we're putting into action, and dare I say, I hope we're going to be ahead of things this year.
Yeah. I was going to ask, so Victor, as far as weed management goes, and you guys create a plan, you and Melissa and your team work together, and it works going from the south side. And just to be clear, so it's a little warmer because we're away from the mountains, right? The north side is closer, so there tends to be a little bit of a temperature change, which is true because sometimes it snows, you know, downtown, and there's no snow going on the south side, right? So, but yeah. What is the procedure, the daily procedure of being able to manage weeds, which are considered pests?
Right. So, Joe, first of all, it's important to recognize that the best approach to managing weeds, especially in high traffic, high visibility areas, is to do so when the weed pest is at its most vulnerable stage, which is when it's young, when it hasn't, you know, established an extensive root system, when it hasn't set seed. And believe it or not, there's quite a plethora of weeds out right now. They're kind of incognito. The type of weed that I see out now, for example, there's some wild mustards coming out. There's flicksweed, wild mustard. In protected areas, there's kochia. And so again, the list goes on and on and on. But so from the standpoint of managing these weed pests practically, it's important for our weed management crew, especially on rights of ways, do so in such a way that they're hoeing, trimming the weeds prior to them setting seed, which there's a caveat to the drought that we're in, because typically this time of the year, you would see a green hue of plant material on many of the medians, and now it's just wherever there's been a little bit more water accumulated. So dare I say we're a little bit ahead of the game simply because of the drought, but myself personally, I'd rather us have an inundation of rain and snow.
Gotcha. I have $1 million question for both of you.
I need $1 million.
Me
okay,
too.
Well, here you go. You can put it into HR, cash that check over there. No, I'm kidding. Who's responsible? I know that sometimes when people, like if there's like a common area or there's space around their their house, right? Like in the sidewalk or against the wall of the sidewalk of their back, of the back of their house, there's a wall and there's weeds coming out from that side. Who is responsible for those weeds?
Well, that is $1 million question. And
Is
we
it a
get
$2
asked
million
that about
question?
arroyos and weeds. And generally, you're responsible from your property to the street.
Okay.
Now, there are some variations of that, so it's not 100%. But typically, people are responsible all the way to the curb to curb.
Okay. Okay.
So that would be a good thing. If somebody has a question, we can help you figure it out, though.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I kind of wonder about that. I know that, you know, some neighbors let their weeds go in front of their house and they think it's the responsibility of the city. And then that's not necessarily true, you know.
It's
Because
not. It's not.
that would be a pretty big project, right? And I think Victor would say, hey man, I think I do need $1 million for that if it's mechanical, right?
More than $1 million.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so as far as weeds go, that's considered a pest. Is there anything else? I know as far as your job goes, Victor, because you also see critters too, insects and stuff, right? That come in and you manage that as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, first of all, there are some weed pests that are rather concerning from the world of integrated pest management or vegetation management, because some of these weed pests that have ended up here in our town are extremely invasive, so much so that the Department of Agriculture has classified them as noxious invasive species. For example, in the middle of the summer, you can drive down some of our corridors and see Russian knapweed. It's a very beautiful plant. It's kind of an olive green foliage with a very pretty diminutive purple flower. So it's like, oh man, that's pretty. But in all reality, there are no native pests of that particular weed. In other words, there's no naturally occurring controlling organism to help mitigate that pest. We also have things like Scotch Thistle, which is extremely invasive. And so what I do is I survey different areas within the city that is, you know, city owned or managed property. And I document these sites where I know whether either people that I work with or constituents will call, and I'll intercept the phone call and they'll say, hey, there's a weed growing by my house. Can you come check it out? And so if it's on city property, I'll end up documenting it. And even myself and or with some help from my cohorts here at Parks Division, gather those and literally bag them and get them to the landfill so that we don't have dispersal of that seed and have that continuation of that particular weed. And so very difficult to manage invasive species like that. But I also oversee the idea of different invasive insects that come into our town. For example, I monitor for a beetle that has entered into the United States from Asia, from China. It's called an emerald ash borer, and it has killed millions and millions of trees since it's entering into the country. I believe it's in 2002. And so right now it's neighboring us in Colorado and Texas. So I use little traps that have basically a Chanel number 9 for the beetle, and it's attracted to a trap and I catch the trap. But knock on wood, I didn't catch any last year, and we hope not to, because one of the primary tree species that we have here in Santa Fe are ash trees. And we want to take care of the trees that we do have and definitely be ahead of the game in the event that we do have an invasive pest like emerald ash borer come in and visit Santa Fe. Those are the visitors we don't want.
Yeah, no, I got you. And so you're kind of like you're the pest hunter, if you will, and make sure that, you know, we keep these pests out that are going to destroy, you know, the native foliage that it's here in our community that we've grown to love and appreciate, right? I mean, that's your primary directive, correct?
Correct. One of the important things about the science and discipline of integrated pest management is to try to stay ahead of the game so that we're not backpedaling. We know that this, for example, emerald ash borer is in the United States. We know as of today, it's not in New Mexico. So we want to just give due diligence and do the best that we can to monitor and use the tools that are available for us to monitor and sample trees and inspect trees and take a look at the overall canopy health of our urban forest here in the city.
Awesome. Well, let's move on. I wanted to talk to you also about it's time for, you know, people are going to be going out a lot now, and I know that you guys are going to be busy. And let's talk about like sprucing up the city. I mean, going out to parks. You guys getting the parks ready for people to come out of their houses after being in a pandemic for over a year, that type of thing. What's going on with that? Can you give us an update?
Absolutely. So top on our list is getting the ball fields up and running.
Okay.
We're looking like we may be able to open up on time if we stay in green and we move to turquoise. So mid-April, the leagues are going to want to get out there and play, and we're really working hard to make sure those fields are ready. So we're coming in and filling in the soil in the tracks where people run. We're building up the mounds. We have Victor feverishly trying to catch critters that are putting little holes in our field. So yeah, we're really working hard to make that happen. Cleaning it up, and we're on track. We think we're going to be good to go on that. And then the other thing we've been doing a lot, and you might be noticing this if you have little ones, we've been going out to all of the play lots, the playgrounds, and refreshing that nice engineered fiber mulch that goes underneath those, because we know that kids are ready to get out and start wreaking some havoc on things. They're busting out wanting to have fun. So we're really working hard to do that. The other thing we want to move next into is some of the sand, the volleyball courts, try to get that up and running.
How long what's the process for that? How long does that take for your crew to be able to get to be everywhere and to complete those projects?
Well, it really depends on all the different things that we have going on. And I've only been in this position 6 months, but I'd say that what they've asked me to do is give them 30 to 45 days to really get all that going. So we've started that process, and we should be on track to have it done by mid-April.
Let me ask you this, how big is the crew, the parks crew for the city to be able to do that? I think that, you know, I know that it takes some time to do all this stuff, and you guys work as hard as you can. I know that the staff and the guys that are out that are actually, you know, out there on the field, on the parks, doing that kind of thing. Just to give kind of an understanding to folks out there, you know, that we have, you know, it's limited amount of people, but these guys are out there working their tail off to make sure that, you know, the parks are beautified for the community's pleasure.
Awesome question, Joe. I can always count on you on just hitting it on the head here. Well, a couple things that I think are really interesting is that we've started looking at our crew makeup a little differently. So we've gone back to the idea of having a mowing crew. And Victor, as you can tell, super knowledgeable, has been really involved in instructing those folks what to look for and how to really make sure we're not spreading weeds to other places. So this, I think, is one of the big changes you're going to see this season. We're trying to maximize the folks that are educated and knowledgeable and understand the safety practices of the larger equipment. We also got some great new equipment in. So from that perspective, that's a new and exciting thing for this year. We have a median crew, and I think the mowing crew has about 4 guys on it. Then we have a median crew that's been around for a while, and they do an awesome job. They get out there like when it's dark out and start clearing those medians. And that's really important because when the cars are out there, it's not safe. So they're really working hard and long days. And we have about 6 people on there. I think we'd like 8. Good news, by the way, if anyone's listening, we are hiring. So check out the city's website. We have quite a few vacancies that we're trying to fill. So please sign up. I'll do an interview with you. We want to get you out there working with us. And then the other parks, we have districts. And so each district crew has between 3 and 5 people, depending. So the larger parks tend to have 5 people, and the smaller ones have about 3. So, and it's a district. So District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4. Does that answer?
Yeah, no, that's great. I was going to ask Victor too, and you know, you had brought up, Melissa, too, that it's Victor's guiding the parks folks on how not to spread more weeds out, you know, by the techniques that they do. And so it's real interesting because, you know, growing up, you know, your dad tells you to go out there and cut the grass, you cut the grass. Your dad goes and tells you to pull the weeds, you pull the weeds, you put them in a bag, and then you just move on, right? You really don't think, but it's really truly a science to be able to practice, right? And to make things easier on you in the future if you practice the science correctly. Victor, how is that a tough thing to convey when you hire folks, when you bring in new folks, to let them know, hey, listen, this is not just about going out and doing yard work. This is really, we are scientists trying to make sure that we don't spread more weeds, and that we're trying to maintain stuff to make it last longer and be more resilient in the future. Is that true? Is that a fair statement?
It's a fair statement, Joe. One of the easiest ways to, you know, mitigate transporting weeds, primarily in the form of its seed, is to simply, you know, have a built-in time in the mowing schedule to either scrape off, hose off the plant material that has accumulated under the mowing deck, for example, on a deck mower, so that you don't transport what was in a particular field and spread it to another field.
Yeah.
Another thing that is a very good illustration is the reality of goat heads or toritos that we call them here, where you have the goat head seed that has hitched a ride on the tire of the mower. And so just taking a couple of minutes and clearing your machine before you load it up and go on to the next site is very practical and very effective. And homeowners can do that, you know, keep weeds out of one side of their property to another. Neighborhoods can collaborate to do the same. Because
goat heads are seeds, right? They're dormant seeds, correct?
The goat head is a collection of seeds inside the part of not the sticker part, but the base is actually a collection of seeds
inside. It's kind of like the spaceship of the seeds being picked up. And
absolutely, yes.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. And I think people just think maybe it's just trash or it's not, but really inside, when you do pick it up and it sticks to your foot or whatever, and you go onto the lawn at your house, you know, you may be on the trail or something like that, right? And then you later on go to the backyard to let the dog out or whatever. You're taking that seed and planting it in your lawn, if that's the case, correct?
Correct. And you know, if you implement that practice, that is actually, you're doing integrated pest management. You're implementing a discipline that can greatly benefit the you know, our ecosystem by not transporting weeds from one place to another.
That's pretty, I can't believe I just conveyed that, you know, like as far as explained what you had said, but really that's pretty awesome. That's something new that I learned today. I didn't know that, and I never thought about that, but it makes sense. Well, anything else? We're at the end of our show. We talked about a lot today, but anything else that you'd like the community of Santa Fe to know?
Well, there's going to be the Great American Cleanup. Has Carol Branch been on the show yet to talk about that?
We're having her on, I think, next week or week after. So yeah, we're going to have her.
I believe that's on the 17th, the Great American Cleanup. And, you know, we have a lot to take care of in the city, and we're really excited to do it, but we're happy to work with any neighborhood. As Victor said, if you want to get out and help, we're there to help you. So give us a call, and we're looking forward to a happy and healthy spring and summer. Awesome.
Victor, thank you for joining us today. And Melissa too, I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking to us. This was an interesting show. We got to have you guys on more often. Definitely. Sure. Yeah, it'd be great. Joe. Yeah. Thank you again, folks. And thank you for watching us today. This has been City Hall Live. Have a safe week. Have a great week. Adios.